We begin the current Daf, Mesechta Bava Metzia Daf. We begin on the top line of the Amud. We're in the middle of a conversation explaining the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. We had said the fundamental question. We said, look, this guy's holding on to half the talis, this guy's holding to half the talis. What do you need an oath for? Whatever he's holding, we assume it's his. If he's holding, assuming it's his. So we said this once before, and we said on the previous Amud. Rabbi Yochanan says, you're right. It's a takan chachamim. We don't want people going and grabbing other people's thing and saying, look, I'm holding half, and we're going to split it. So therefore we instituted an oath. But the Gemara asked a critical question. It says, look, you're suspecting this guy that he's grabbing someone else's house and wants to steal. So then we should say the principle, he's stealing, he's going to lie. On that, the Gemara says, no, we don't say that. And the Gemara is trying to prove that point, that we don't say once he suspect regarding stealing, that he's going to suspect regarding an oath, and the Gemara will continue to bring proofs regarding this principle that obviously we don't say migid chashamoy nechash hashvasa. Shis kosban bekazach in Cheskel 20 Daf Yomi 20 today's Daf beschos b'chidman Yisrael and Yisrael and throughout the entire world. So we're discussing today's Daf is like we said the theme of chashamoy nechash hashvasa. Do we say once you're suspect regarding money, you suspect regarding the oath? Takfa echad b'fanenu. Regarding if, let's say, one guy grabs it from another guy in front of us, so he pulls it away and now he's the one holding it. Hekdesha b'lei takfa, and what happens if, let's say, based on that, if you say that if one guy grabs it away, you don't take it away from him? What would be the halach if, let's say, one guy is makdish it? We have a suffix on this thing, and he says it's hekdesh without grabbing it away. What would the halacha be? Which that obviously relates to the principle of mitzvah mechem el regarding if someone has something and to take it away, you have the onus of proof is on you. Some of the other important terms and concepts of today's daf are sveikis. Regarding hasveikis, if nachnas and ladir l'saser, do you have, if there's a doubtful animal regarding the lochas of meiser, do they go into the corral to go and take off meiser behim, which is the from every 10 animals you take off one and bring it to the carbon. Kavatzecha min amanuyin, if one of the animals that already had been counted already as they go out, and then it jumps back in, or the halacha be, and the halacha min harab paiter, that if something has already been fit to have been completed to the number 10, even if it doesn't, it already exempts it from the halacha of meiser. The halacha of asir v'adi v'lo asir suffix, that no, it's only by a definite tenth, but not a doubtful tenth for the halachas of meiser. And regarding the halachas of hektish, gezel v'lo nisar shabaylim, if someone stole but the owner didn't give up hope, regarding that neither one of them can be makdish, and kamam shein yochel b'diyanin, and what's the halacha regarding if any money that cannot be extracted with judges, how do we qualify that money regarding the halacha of hektish? So we begin the current daf, Vav. We're first finishing up a conversation from the previous daf regarding explaining Shitas Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara had a question and said, wait a second, what does it help if you tell me the reason why you have to take a shiur? It's because you suspect that the guy grabbed away the other half of the guy's talis, so then you should say, migid chashamoy nechash hashvasa. On that the Gemara says, no, I'll prove to you that it's not the case. Because ve'ela, if you said that your question that you're asking that someone's migid chashamoy nechash hashvasa, hadam Rav Nachman. What do you do with Rav Nachman? Rav Nachman said, meshbiyan oisai, you make the guy who was not a meidah b'miktzas, totally denied, he's koifar kol, he denies the whole thing. Still, as we mentioned in the previous daf, on daf hey, we said that you have to make a shvuas has his rabbinic oath. How does that help? Namely, you should say, migid chashamoy, once you suspect regarding the money, where you had the audacity to deny the whole thing. So, as Rashi says, Tosha elaborates a little bit more, that you're not coming to just push off, because if you're just coming to push off and delay, you wouldn't have such audacity. And that's where the biblical narrative Moed Mixes comes up. Here you're totally denying, so you don't care about stealing the guy's money. So Chashash we should say you suspect regarding the oath. What does it help? Obviously, we say Loi Chashash Vasa. The second raya is Hadatan Reb Chir. Chir taught a brisa. Shneim nishbon v'noitlim b'balabais. We quoted this case already previously regarding when there's an employer asks a store owner to pay his workers, and both of them claim opposite claims. When they have the ledger on his the storekeeper on his ledger, he says, "Yeah, I paid them," and Rashi's bothered why we're quoting a brisa when it's a Mishnah Masechta Shavuos. Tais actually says that Mishnah was taught through Reb Chia, as obviously in the Gemara over there. So I'll upon them, but the Mishnah or the Brisa says that both of them swear and they collect. Both the workers say we swear we never got paid, and the store owner says I paid them. They both collect from this employer. How do you do that? name a migu, you should say that since that one of them is for sure. Suspect regarding the money, suspect regarding the oath. How does it help to make them take the oath? Somebody's lying over here. Besu, right number 3 is Hodam Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes says, Sholish Shavuos must be in Oisai. There's 3 oaths that the Shomer Chinam, the unpaid custodian, that he has to swear when he claims it was stolen from him, which would exempt him, let him off the hook, is number 1, Shvush Lepeshati. But I swear I wasn't negligent, because if negligent, obviously he'd have to pay. Number 2, Shvush Leshlachta B'yad. I swear that I didn't touch it and misappropriate to do my own work with the thing I was watching, because as Rashi explains, if he was Shalech B'yad, then he would be considered it's a gazlan on it. And then even if an oinus happened, he would be chayiv, and because it was in his possession, it was considered like his. And he's chayiv to compensate. So he has to swear that he didn't touch it. And number 3 is Shvu Hashem B'shusi. I swear that it's not in my possession, it's not around anymore. Says the Gemara, again, Raya number 3, namely should say, by the Shvuah She'en B'shusi, when the guy's swearing it's not by me. Well, why are you making me swear it's not by me? Because you're suspecting that he's really trying to steal it and just pay you for it. Or not even pay you, just hold on to it because he's saying Nigneva. Then you should say, you should say that since you're suspecting regarding the money, that maybe it is in his house somewhere, he's hiding it and he's denying it. So how does it have to take the oath? He'll lie too. Ella, rather, this is the third proof that the Gemara brings. We don't say that since a person is suspect regarding the money, he's suspect regarding the oath, and therefore Rabbi Yechanan's shita is meyushav, that he had said that the whole purpose of this, our opening case of Shnayim Eichs B'talis, is that people shouldn't go and grab other people's talis. Meaning we're suspecting someone ran over to your kapata, and he's saying it's mine, and it's not really his, that he's stealing, but there's a point of taking an oath, because even though he might steal, he's not going to say an oath like Rashi and Taisus, either because it's Chamer L'Bnei Adam, or because the Taka is that the whole world is like a trace, the whole world shook when Hashem says, Leisisa, don't take my name in vain. That was one approach. Now the Gemara says, Abai Amar, he actually says the reason of the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yechanan. That if we would suspect a person to go and grab someone else's jacket for nothing, he would be suspect regarding an oath. And there would be no purpose of making an oath because the guy steals, the guy lies too. Rather, the halacha of a Mishnah is based on a different principle. What is it? Chashinu were concerned, Shema Milvi Yeshana Yeshloi Olav. Maybe this guy who's grabbing the jacket had lent this guy 5 years ago $100. Now, he recognizes that the guy he lent the money to forgot about it. And he's going to deny that he owes him the money that he lent him. So what does he do? So when they're in shul next time, he sees this guy has this beautiful talis with this new design that's worth $200. And he grabs it. And he swears that, yeah, I don't have less than half of the value of this guy's talis. Because the truth is, even the guy's jacket on, the guy's shirt off his back is meshubed to him for the loan that he lent him. So, and as Tais actually explains, that the truth is that that's the same thing of the Mashbina Zegimah Shvus that we just brought before, and the case before that of Shneim Nishbam and Neitlin is also, Abai would explain, we're concerned that there's an old loan that he owes him, and therefore you can't let him go without an oath, and also cannot take without an oath, in contrast to, let's say, a guy who for sure stole or a guy's denying a begotten, you cannot validate it because maybe there's an old loan. The guy's for sure a shotgun. The guy's a liar. Here, we're not suspecting that the guy's a liar. To the contrary, we're making him take an oath because it's not really yours. It's an old loan, but the guy's not lying. The guy's, and that's the purpose of the oath, is to require the guy to swear, but again, he's not chashed amamayim because we're saying that maybe it's an old loan that he owes. So the Gemara says, wait, it's like, if that's the case, why are you imposing an oath on them? You're telling me that if not for the fact that the guy was owed $100 from 5 years ago, he wouldn't have grabbed it, so nishka b'lei shvua. So let him take it without an oath and collect the loan that's owed to him. Well, we're not suspecting him. If we suspected him that he'd be stealing, there's no point in the oath to the buyer. Because me, the chashav amamayim, you are chashav shvasa. So then, how are we letting him swear? Because of a different reason. Because he's not a stealer. So what is he? He's owed money from 5 years ago, $100. So now let him take it without a shvur. We're not suspecting him. So the Gemara says, no, Ela rather chayshinan, we're concerned shema safek milva yeshana yesh lelav. We're concerned that maybe that there's a doubtful old loan. A gedenknish. He doesn't know. He says, wait a second, I'm not sure. I think maybe he owes me $100. So he grabs the talis. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Well, aren't we saying tafas memayna b'sveika? So wait, if you're telling me that the guy would grab the guy's, baseball glove because of doubt, mishtabeinam misafik. So you're back to the question. If you're saying that he'll steal because of something, he'll swear misafik too. So Rav Sheshet B'rei David, he says, no, it's not true. Parshi inshi misafik shvua. People will separate from a doubtful shvua, meaning they're not going to swear out of doubt. But they won't separate from doubtful money. No, but definite money, they will. And whoever doesn't separate, you're right, Abaya holds that there's no point in taking oath because he will swear falsely. But by Suffolk, that's where it comes up that he would grab the guy's talis out of Suffolk, but the shvua is going to help separate him because he won't swear misafik. Says him, my time, what's the difference between a shvua and a money when it comes to Suffolk? When you tell me that by Vadai it's the same, because money could be returned and shvua less b'chazara, and the oath cannot be returned. Now Taisa explains actually that what that means to say is, if he doesn't end up remembering, if the guy owes him, he will return it. He won't hold on to it. But at least I could remember. Now I don't remember, I'll take it misafik. But a shvua, you can't undo it. That's already too late. Because Taisa says you can't explain that if he remembers that he doesn't owe, then he'll return. But if he doesn't remember, he'll hold on to it. That even though he knows that he's not going to remember anymore, because if that's the case, then Taisa holds misafik shvua, he also wouldn't be pirish. Because ultimately you're still swearing if you don't recall. No, if I remember, then I'll keep it. But if not, I'll give it back. So that's the difference. So that's again machlekes Abai and Rabbi Yechanan regarding what's the reasoning of our Mishnah. Is it because shlohei kol echad hoylech v'tekeh b'talizis shechaveiroi? Or Abai says no, not true. If that's what you suspected, chasha mayna is chasha shvasa. It's not going to help. The reason is because we suspect that he has an old loan. And what's the reason why we make him swear? Because it's not really. He's not even sure if he owes him the money. So misafik, he'll take it, but I'll hold on to it to see if he remembers, which we don't know. So make it take a shvur. Oh, shvur, misafik, I'm not going to do. So then he'll give back and say, you're right, it's not really my talis. I was just doing it because he owes me. I thought maybe he owes me money. Now the Gemara continues in a related discussion to the halacha of our Mishnah. So again, remember, we're talking about two guys holding on to a talis. You're not going to forget the case so fast as we all remember this case. So Rabbi said, what happens if tuk ve'echad b'feneinu? What happens if one guy pulls it out from his friend's hands, he's stronger. Now, it's all in his hands before they swear. Ma, what's the halacha? So what's the question? So the Gemara explains. Hey chadami, what's the case Toma? Either shasik, if the other guy is quiet, okay, I do delay. We know the principle. Shtika kaida. The guy's being quiet. He's admitting. He's like, okay, it really is his. And if he's screaming, what should he have done? What the guy's got to hold on to it stronger? It's like a tug of war the whole time until they swear? Of course, it's not going to make it to other guys. So the case that we're asking is like this. The shasek he was silent at the time, and then he protested afterwards. What's the halacha? What's the question? The Gemara explains. On the one hand, from the fact that he was quiet, okay, he's admitting it's not his. Since now he's screaming, he's revealing his intention. Yeah, you know why he was quiet in the beginning. So he thought, and the rabbi see, and no one's saying anything. Then he says, Rabbi say, he grabbed it away from me. But the reason why he's quiet in the beginning is not a raya, because he's quiet, because they thought the rabbis were going to jump in. And the rabbis didn't say anything, so then he screamed. So that's the shaila, by Shasik Vad Saver, what would the halacha be? So Rav Nachman says, Tashema, let's bring a raya from the following brisa that elaborates on the halacha of our Mishnah. The brisa explains like this. We said, Shneimach Metalis, and we said Yachloiku. So it says the brisa, when do we say this halacha? Sheshnema Dukimba, if both are holding on to it. But if the talis was coming out in front of court, only in the hand of one of them, he's the only one holding on to it, not the other one. Even though they're both saying, he's saying it's mine, he's saying it's mine, but only one guy is holding on to it. Then we say, the one who's trying to take away from the other person, the onus of proof is on him. He has to bring witnesses. Until he does, the guy who's holding on to it gets to keep it. So the Gemara says, hey, Chedami, what's the case of the brisa? If you really think you're going to read the brisa literally, that, yeah, one guy's holding on to it, and he comes into court holding it, and not the other one. Come on, that pshita. Obviously, we know the halacha. We know whatever person's holding is his, and of course the onus of proof is on the other one. Ella rather must be shetak ve'echad b'fanenu. What do we mean when one guy is holding it? Because one guy schlepped it away, as we said, and then there must be talking about where the guy was quiet because or else the shtika koda, and and he was screaming. So don't you see from the brayso clearly that then the halacha would be that it would be hamoitza mechel l'raya? Says the Gemara, not necessarily. You could say, what's the price of talking about? They came in front of us. Both guys were holding on to it. The classic case, they walk in, each guy's holding on to the talis, and they walk into court like that. And the Rabban said, we have a din terror. They say, okay, zilu ploigu. Go and split it. That's the halacha. That's the halacha of our opening mission of this mesechta. Okay, but nafku, they leave. Then they come back in 20 minutes later. Now, one guy's holding it. What's going on over here? So Hayam, this guy says, I doily. Rabbanim Dayona Mumchen, I want you to know, he admitted to me. And that's why I'm the one holding it. Hayam, the other guy says, no. The reason why he's holding it is Bidmei Igarti Nahale. I rented it to him for money. Meaning we both own it, but the guy wanted to wear the talis today, he's going to some simcha, whatever it's that. I rented it to him. We tell him, no. Up until now, you were suspecting him as a gazlan. You're saying it's yours, and he stole it from you. He's saying it's his, and you stole it from him. And now you're going to go ahead and rent it to him without witnesses? No, that's the halacha that the Bryce is saying, that they're not shnei madukim, and one guy's suddenly holding it, then we don't believe you anymore. And you would never rent it to him without witnesses, and now that he's holding it, we'll say how much on you. Now, Tosis is bothered. He says, why can't he say a migui, a very simple claim, he grabbed it away from me? So he grabbed it away and runs back into court. That's a rye that it says? Says Tosis is very interesting. He says, mikim mokum edimhu. Meaning it's like a non-sahadi. We would testify you would never rent it to him. So if that's what you're saying, it's a mikim mokum edim that you can't say a migui when your taina is like a non-sahadi that you would never do such a thing. So this is where we get the lumdis in this mesechta. The migu b'mokum edim? Yeah, because anan tzahadi, we testify you would never do such a thing. You would never rent it to the guy. So migu gives you a kleichatayna and says, okay, now I could have said something better. I could have said the guy grabbed it away from me. We would believe you that the guy snatched it away. But when there's anan tzahadi, there's the witnesses testify what you're trying to say.
Who are they?
No, not real edim. There's anan theoretical edim. Anan tzahadi is that we testify that you would never do such a thing. There's witnesses saying that you didn't rent it to this guy. No real witnesses, but like, so to speak, theoretical witnesses. And that's a migui b'mokum edim. You can't say a migui opposite edim. That's the lumdus of how Tosis says that we don't believe you. That's interpretation number one of the brayso, so that you never do that. Interpretation number two, you could say like the brayso says, the asla kaman, that they came in front of us, kitafas lachad menayu. That's the simple translation of the brayso. It says, but if the talis was yitzim tachas yodishal echem, meaning one guy comes and walking in it, that it's his. So we said, what's the chiddush? No, because v'idach misrich basruchi. The other one is clinging on to the edges. So what's the chiddush of the brayso? Va'afil sumchas, even according to sumchas. In other words, sumchas that's lenient regarding the division of something that there's a machlek, that there's a doubt regarding. Because the Amma, he says, he says, anytime you have money that's in the doubt, you divide it, he doesn't require an oath. We had to say that in such a case, Sumchas would agree that even with an oath, the guy wouldn't get a portion. Because it's not it's not money that's in doubt. Why not? Isn't that in doubt? Because this guy's saying it's his, he's saying it's his? No. Because the sircha, holding on to the edges, lav klumi, is nothing. And as Rashi explains, which he's referring to other cases, like in Ksubis, there's no shar shachet lafanecha. It's not similar to the case of like a Baba Kama, nimtza uber betzida, that we have a suffix, we don't know, like, okay, and once we have a doubt, we're going to say chalkin, yachleiku. There's no doubt over here. The guy's holding on to it. The fact that you're holding on to the edges is insignificant, and even though Sumcha is usually very lenient, he says, yeah, we don't know, okay, you guys got to split, and it doesn't have to say, here, not only would we not say, we wouldn't even say yachleiku, even with us, you wouldn't get anything. And that's the chiddush of the brayso, to say that, yeah, if Lamaisa, one guy's holding on to it, the other guy's holding on to the edges, that this guy gets it, he gets to keep it, and the other guy would have a mitzvah b'chalvaya, even according to Sumchis, who usually goes more on the yachleiku than on the mitzvah b'chalvaya. Okay. Now, here is where we start a conversation of the famous sugya Tok V'Kayin. Shach wrote the whole sefer. We know this. You could sit on this for months and months and months and months. But this is the sugya of Tok V'Kayin. So says the Gemara like this: Im Tim Tzalaim. If you're going to say regarding our question that you want to answer it, that Tok V'Echad B'Feneinu, we had asked this question. This was Reb Zera's question, that if two guys are holding a talis, one guy grabs it away. So if you're going to say that if one guy grabs it away in front of us, that the halach is we take it away from him, and we're going to say yachlaiku, because they were both holding on to it, because one guy grabbed it away, and then the guy was quiet, but then he screamed, doesn't prove it's yours. We'll say yachlaiku. If you're going to say, that was the question Zera said, now we're saying imtim tzalem. If you're going to say, like that tzad, that yachlaiku, so the halach would be hikdisha, if let's say the guy made a hektish without grabbing it, so einam mekudeshes. So we wouldn't say that the item would be hektish, because being makdish something is not better than grabbing something. Meaning, if we said grabbing doesn't help, so for sure being makdish it doesn't help. So let's say you have two guys holding on to the talis, and they're grabbing, he's holding one side, he's holding one side, and the guy says, you know what, kula kodesh lashem. Nothing happened, because even if you grabbed it, it wouldn't be yours. You would have to give it back. We would still say yachloiku. But makdish it for sure is not stronger than that, and we're not going to say that that yachloiku. Now, imtim tzaloima, but if you say the other way around, that tak ve'echad b'feneinu, that if one guy grabs it in front of us, that that we don't take it away from him, meaning the guy who grabs it gets to keep the whole talis, then our question is like this: Hekdesha b'loy tak famahu. If the guy is makdish it without grabbing it, remember, if he grabbed it, he'd be able to keep it. If he's makdish it without grabbing, what's the halacha? So what's the question? So the Gemara explains. On the one hand, Kivin Damamar, since the master says, as quoted many times in Shas, Amiras Ligvaya, when you say something to give to Hashem, it's like giving it over to a person. So essentially, when you're being makdish, command the talk for dummy. It's really like grabbing it away. Taking to a human being's hand is the equivalent of giving it to Hashem by just saying the words. So essentially, by being makdish is like grabbing it away. And just like we say grabbing it away, we say it's yours. If the guy shasek l'b'sayv tzavach, so maybe the same thing would be when you makdish it. Same thing. No. At this point, the guy didn't grab it away yet. And since he didn't grab it away, you cannot be makdish it. Why? Why isn't that the same thing? No, because there's a pasuk in the Yikra that says the ish and the person ki yakdish as beisay kodesh v'gomer, when he's going to sanctify his house as holy, etc., etc. So then it has the way the kohen evaluates it. That's how it's going to be. But since this is the prototype of where we mentioned being makdish something, and it says ki yakdish as beisay, so we say yes, ma beisay b'shusay, just like your house. It says beisay, his house is b'shusay in his possession, and then you could be makdish it. I've called b'shusay. Anything that's in your possession, you could be makdish. Now fuki hadlo b'shusay. This is not your possession. This guy's holding on to the other half of it. You can't be makdish what's in his hand. So that's the Gemara's question. Do we say that it is ultimately like a tkifa, like as if you grabbed it? Because a misras legvayz ke misras lehedid? Or do you say that no, you can't be makdish because it's not yet in your possession?
There's no element on the sake of being makdish something that Heitaka might be a suffix of what's it called, hektish, and therefore he would have to pay al suffix the other to there. In other words, because he's malam kedusha, this.
You're asking post the question, I think, but the question is: could a guy be makdish something that's not in his possession yet, which we generally say no, and this guy's holding on to the other half of the house, he cannot be makdish it? Or do you say that no, the act of being makdish is like grabbing away? Because we say saying to Hashem is like giving it to someone else's hand.
Is there any credibility to the suffix of...
It's not really suffix. Is there any credibility to his being makdish? That's the shaila that the Gemara has. It takes elaborates a little bit more, but we're trying to keep it as simple as possible because it gets very complex. This sugya. Tashma says, let's bring a raya. That there was a story as Getinda Medbeis Masusa. There was this bathhouse. They have a mitzvah Allah Beitrei that two guys were fighting over. Hayame says Didihu, this is my Schwitz. Hayame Didihu says, no, it's mine. So Kam Chad Minaya, one of them got up, Menaktisha. And he says, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm making it hektish. So Parsha so they stopped bathing over there. Rav Chananya, Rav Aishia, all the rabbis stopped going to that Schwitz anymore. Okay. But only Rav Aishia said to Rabbi, do me a favor. This was Rav Aishia was one of the rabbis that stopped using the Schwitz. Not an easy thing for the Rabbanan. Ki Asas Kamid Rav Chiz says, do me a favor, when you go in front of Rav Chiz, the Lekafri, which is the name of a place, ask him the Shaila, what's the halacha? Now, Ki Asla Surah, on his way, when he was passing Surah on the way to go to Kafri, he encountered a different Talmud Chacham. Only Rav Nuna says, oh, the Shaila that happened in your town, Masnidnhi, it's a Mishnah Mesechtes Taharas. Really? What's the Mishnah? So the Gemara explains. Suffolk B'chayris, if there's an animal that was born, we don't know if the mother animal had given birth once before, or if it didn't, which obviously is relevant to know the halacha of B'chayr, which is the firstborn animal. So this halacha applies, this suffix B'chayris applies Echad B'chayr Adam, whether we're talking about a firstborn human being, for example, let's say the mother had miscarried once before. Well, it wasn't clear if it was something that exempts B'chayra, or maybe it was just like some wind and it wasn't really a fetus, and what comes after that is obviously things come out of a woman's body. Not everything that comes out is considered as a fetus. So it's not clear now, this child, if this is the firstborn or not. Or the Echad B'chayr Behema, whether the firstborn of an animal, Bein Tahirim, Bein Tameim, whether a kosher animal or non-kosher animal, for example, Petachamar, the firstborn donkey is also a firstborn animal. So what's the halacha? Whoever wants to take it away, the onus of proof is on them. What does that mean? So the assumption of the Gemara right now, the way Rashi explains is, okay, if the owner, the Yisrael, is holding on to it, if a kohen would want to get it because he gets it's one of the Chavtal Matnas Kahuna, the B'chayris, B'chayr Adam, he gets the Shkalim, he gets the animal. The onus of proof is on you, the kohen, if you want to get it, to say it's a B'chayr. You don't know, you prove it. Now, if the kohen already grabbed it, and the Yisrael was quiet and then screamed, then the Yisrael is Meitzmech V'Levaraya, because that's what it sounds like from the Mishnah, that whoever's holding on to it, the guy, since it's a suffix, the guy who wants to take it away, we would say Meitzmech V'Levaraya. Now, it gets a little bit complex over here, but halt cup. So that's what the Mishnah says. Now, B'Tani Allah, we learned in the Bryce explaining this Mishnah, Asurim Begiza Uba'avoida, that because of the suffix, that this might be a firstborn animal or not, since it might be kachim, we know that by kachim, even those that you're not going to be doing the avodah with, you can't work with them, you can't share their wool, you can't have this type of misappropriation from hektish. Now it might be hektish, so you can't do these things to it. Says the Gemara, okay, hard cup. V'hacha the amana here where we said, Tagfu kayin. You're telling me, and again, this is why Rashi explained, there was the assumption of the Gemara, explained the Mishnah Taras, that if the kohen grabs this doubtful B'chayr, the halacha is Eid Meitzin Oisem Yadai, you don't take it away from him. Where do you see that? Because Diktani, we said, that sounds like whoever's the guy holding it, didn't say Shal Yisrael Hain, it said, so whoever's the guy holding it, we would say, you get to keep it. So that means to say, if the kohen grabs it, you don't take it away. Now, and when he doesn't grab it, we see how severe is the koyach of the hektish, is important because the Gemara can make a differentiation, but try to hard cup on this. That asurim begizu v'avoida. That we see that, yeah, you can't shear the wool and you can't work with it. Obviously, that if you say, takfoi, when someone grabs something away, which we're not sure is yours or not, remember the case of our talis of two guys holding on, the one guy grabs it away. If you hold that we don't take it away from you, which it sounds like the Mishnah Taurus is saying that, because it says whoever has it, the other guy has to prove that to get it out of him, which sounds like that if the kohen grabbed it, he would be able to keep it. That even when he didn't grab it, the hektish that would be is hektish. Because you see, before he even grabbed it, even if it's in the Yad Yisrael, we say, can't shear the wool. You can't work with it. Now, you might have many questions, which the Gemara is going to address right now, but just try to recall the principle. We had a question, we had two guys holding onto a talis. And we had a question, if one guy grabs it away, and the other guy's quiet, then he screams later, what's the halacha? We didn't answer the question. But we said, if you say that if you grab it away, that we wouldn't take it away from you, you'd be able to hold on to it, what's the halacha if you didn't grab it? What happens if you just made a hektish? The Gemara is trying to bring a raya that you see from this case of the Kayin and the Yisrael by the Safek B'chairis, which is very similar to a talis. We're not sure whose it is, not sure whose animal this belongs to, this firstborn animal. Is it firstborn? It's not. Belong to Yisrael, belong to Kayin. We said whoever's holding on to it, and again that's how the Gemara understands in Havamina, gets to keep it. The other guys are Matzmech with a raya, which means to say that if the Kayin would grab it, talk for Kayin, you wouldn't take it away from him. So that's like that sad of the Gemara, which says, talk for Emetimiyade. Now, what happens if he didn't grab it yet? It's still by the Yisrael. What's the halacha? We would say that there's hektish, even though the kohen didn't grab it. That we don't know how yet, but that's what the Bryce is saying. We said, asur megiz v'avayda. You can't share the wool, you can't work with it.
It could be hektish because if it was wrong.
I understand. The Gemara is going to say this in the answer. You have to understand, obviously, the lumdus of the Havamina. But this is what the Gemara is saying. You see this hektish, even before the kohen grabs it. I could understand if when he grabs it, that you're saying that, okay, now it becomes hektish because you're saying it's a b'char, because that's what he's taking. But you see that even before takfoi, there's the element of hektish over there. That answers our question, that a guy, there could be hektish even without grabbing it. And that says the Gemara, Amalei Rabbah, it says, what are you talking about? Kedusha's b'char ka'amrit? You're talking about the sanctity of the firstborn animal? I would tell you by the firstborn animal, it's not true what you're saying. That even if takful kohen, if the kohen grabs it, yeah, we take it away from him. Because we presume that it's in the chazaka of the Yisrael. The kohen is always called the Meitzim Echavere. It was born by the Yisrael. Because he grabbed it, doesn't make him a muchzik. I could tell you that maybe it would even be like the other tzadar of Zera's question. That if the kohen grabs it, we take it away from him. And even so, I would still say asur megiz v'avayda, which you have to say even so, because in the Amad Aleph, when the Gemara was entertaining the question of hektish, we only entertained it in the tzad of takfoi ein meitzim miyadai. Then we said, okay, if you grab it, you would keep it. What happens if you maktish? Do we say mirasal gavoy k'misachas lehed? You're like, and now we're saying nah. Even if we said that if you grabbed it, we would take it away from you, even so I could tell you it'll have the status of hektish, that's forbidden to shear the wool and to work with it. Not because, and this is, you see in the way Rashi explains the Gemara's rejection, you understand what was the Gemara's havamina, not because the kohen had some rights to it, that you want to answer and show me that, if he would grab it, you wouldn't take it away. So if he's maktish, it's going to be hektish, which that was what the Gemara's Havamina was. No. Here, the reason why it's going to have a status of hektish, not because, the kohen's rights to it is really because it's b'char, then it belongs to the kohen, and that's why you're saying when he grabs it, he gets to keep it, and therefore, even if he doesn't grab it, okay, but he's like, quote-unquote, being makdish, it's going to be hektish. No. It's because there's always two elements in every suffix when you have mammon and isser. There's Choshe Mishpat and there's Yeredeya. There are two different categories in the same case. Kohen grabbing it is a Choshe Mishpat question. That I could tell you, says the Gemara. Rabbah says, you have no right to grab it away. Even if you grabbed it, we're going to take it away from you. This time saying, but so why does it have a halach of hektish? Where you're assuming it's the Yisrael's. Yisrael gets to keep it, even the Kohen grabs it. So why does it have a hektish? You tell me it's not the B'char. So the Kohen should be able to hold on to it. That's because of the Isser element, of the prohibitory law of the suffix of shearing a kachim animal, where the Kedusha Habo Me'eleh Shani, when the sanctity comes by itself, that's different. Meaning, if it's a firstborn animal, by itself it becomes holy. And that's a suffix that the individual has for himself. that doesn't tell us anything regarding the rights that the kohen has. You're right, it is obviously related to the same principle, if it's a firstborn animal or not, but that they work through different mechanics. Chayshim Mishpah works at Hametz Mechel Raya. For Isser, you have your own prohibition, you have to be suspect regarding that maybe it's the Bechar. So even though it's a suffix, Hametz Mechel Raya would say that the kohen doesn't get to get it. But regarding your own Isser, of course we have to suspect it. Just to finish off the thought, but regarding the bathhouse, that's different. That Kedusha only came by that disputant that he was saying, oh, I'm making a hekdesh. That I could tell you that even if you say takfa when the guy grabs it, you don't take it away from him. I could still tell you if he's makdish it without grabbing it, it wouldn't be hekdesh because you cannot be makdish something that's not in your possession. It therefore doesn't prove anything. Like Rav Nun is telling him, he says, what's your question? It's a Mishnah. Says Rabbi, no Mishnah. You don't see anything from this Mishnah. You don't see that if a guy could have grabbed it, so then we say, oh, we makdish it, oh, okay, it's going to be hekdesh. No, you don't see that. Because even if it's tagfui, we say that even if we say ein mitzin, I would tell you that it's not going to be hekdesh. This Mishnah, and with the Brisa explains it, that's different. The reason why it's some begiz avodah is not because takfui ein mitzin. I could even say takfui kain mitzin as miyadai. You would take it away from him. But that's what begiz avodah is partial because the Isser Shabbat that you have to be concerned for.
Why does the Gemara introduce the aspect of Shvuah here? Because by Kalas has nothing to do with Hegdish. Over here, talking about Hegdish and a Kohen's status is probably.
Who do you want to swear? By which case?
The Kohen. How did he know it's a Bechor? He's
No,
told it's a Bechor?
no.
He knows? How does he know the Bava Metzia doesn't know?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily make it. I don't know. Here, you have to know what's
Why
the.
by Kalas, yes, and not here?
Yeah, in the Chanami, they don't know what's what. You want to know how could he have grabbed it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
Right.
So, he doesn't know, so prove to him by making a shvuah. If he's not ready to make a shvuah, then it's a Baal bias.
Yeah, I hear. If to know.
Then you could maybe ask the Balamais to make a shiur also. But I don't understand the concept of the talk boy because how do you have the right to be moitzi from another muzak? What gives you the right al smach hasofik?
Oh, that's what his question. Yeah, that's basically what he's asking.
Yeah, but that's not because of asking a shvuah. I'm talking generally. How come you do not have a definite idea, knowledge, and you are coming to take out from somebody al smach what?
No, they're both saying it because you have to know that that.
Father is the owner is muhzak.
That's the shayla. The shayla is there a chazaka? When you have a firstborn animal, there was never muhsik because the animal from its birth had the shayla. In the way you could say there's no muhsik, the kohen could grab it. Why not? Well, it's not muhsik. It's the firstborn animal's muhsik is mine. Because I'm the kohen.
No, it's muhzik in his possession.
There's no possession. That's what I'm saying.
Because it's not muhzik that's 100%.
I'm saying that's the
question.
question.
Not 100% either. In the meantime, where is it?
I understand, but I'm saying, but you could see that the question is not so simple because it's not necessarily muhsik by the owner because it was born in your backyard. Doesn't mean so it's my firstborn animal born in your backyard because if it's the b'chayr, it's mine. So that's what I'm saying. It's really up for grabs. Who's really the muhsik over here? Because you're saying make a shvu, make a tesa. You make a shvu. It's my firstborn animal. We don't really know. It's a suffix. So that's what I'm saying. Tak for kain. That's what the Gemara's happening was. Whoever's holding on to it, the other guy's mitzvah because if it's the firstborn animal, it was mine. So that's what I'm saying. It's like buying the Uber inside of an animal. That I'm the muksik when it's born, not you, because it's mine. So that's really part of the shaila. But Akaban, the Gemara rejected the raya because it's not related to the question of being makdashit bepeh, like the case of Masusa or Abzera and Amid Aleph. It's a very different question when it's regarding Bechar because that's Kedusha B'Meleh, that's regarding the Isser Shabai, and therefore Rabbah rejected the raya. Now, Omali Rav Chananya l'Rabbah. Rav Chananya says to Rabbah, he says, Tanya de Messiah, I'm going to bring you a brisa that supports what you're saying, that by suffix b'chayros, by the doubt of the firstborns, if the kohen grabs it, you're right. It's not a raya like Rav Nun is saying that must be because ein metzinas miyadai, and since we don't take it away, therefore that's why the hekdesh is going to apply because that answers Reb Zera's question on Aleph and the case of the Masusa, which is that since if you grabbed it, we would say it was yours, so therefore if you makdash, we'll also say that it's yours. No, nothing to do with that. Truth is, by a suffix b'chayros, if the kohen grabs it, we do take it away from him. And we don't say this both ways. And then, so wait a second, so why is it hektish if we say we would take it away from him? Because there's nothing to do with that, like Rabbi said. It's because of the issur that applies, they obey. Nothing to do with, because if the kohen would grab it, it would be his, so we say it's hektish too. No. And I'll prove it to you. It says, I'll support you from the following brisa, which the Messiah Shas says really that it's primarily really a Mishnah B'chayris, but the Gemara many times just as Makatza, like Tezeret and Sukkot Avdalek, but it brings it like a brisa. What's this case? So again, it gets pretty complex. So the brisa says like this: Hasveikois. So Gemara on the next daf is going to explain what do we mean when we say hasveikis. We're talking about a suffix pidyon peter chamor. What does that mean? When you have a peter chamor, when you have the firstborn of the donkey, is halacha. Either you redeem it with a sheep, or you decapitate the calf. Okay. Now, if you have the donkey, and so the case is let's say a guy wasn't sure if this was the firstborn by the donkey, so he designates a sheep to take the place to remove the issur of the firstborn donkey. He gets to keep that sheep, doesn't have to give it to a kohen. Why? Because again, it's a suffix, so you have to take care of your issur, but the mammon, you redeem it, but you could hold on to the sheep. Now, this pidyon petach hamor, which is a sheep, that's how you redeem the firstborn of the donkey, the halach of meiser applies to that sheep. So if a kohen would have 10 pitrei chamorim, which again, don't get confused with the word chamorim, it's the peter of the chamor, meaning if you have the firstborn donkeys that or the redemption of it that he inherited from his grandfather, a Yisrael, meaning let's say he has 10 firstborn donkeys. So what he would do is he would separate 10 sheep. This kohen, the einikel, his Ida had this old donkey farm, and there's 10 firstborn donkeys. He would separate 10 sheep, and then he would take meiser from that 10 sheep, and then he would get to keep it, the meiser behema. But the halach of meiser applies to the pidyon petach hamor. Now, so therefore you have the following case: if there's a suffix regarding a pidyon petach hamor, which again, meaning we had the firstborn donkey, we wasn't sure, so we went and we separated, we redeemed it, and it's in by a Yisrael. Nichnasin ladir, they go into the flock, into the corral with all the other sheep, lis aser, to take meiser from it. And if it comes out to be the 10th one, so it's the one that's the meiser behema. Okay, that's the halacha of the brisa. So what does the Gemara want from this? How is this supporting Rabbah? The Isakadaytachib, you would think to say, tak for kayin, that when the kohen grabs, now remember, what was the case of tak for kayin? The case was that you had a suffix of matnas kahuna. You weren't sure if this is a b'char or not. If you say that when he grabs it, we don't take it away from him, meaning the kohen has some element of rights in this firstborn animal, so amay nechnasin ladir. Then why by this suffix, pidyon petach hamor, which again is regarding a firstborn, it's a very similar case. Why is it going into the corral? Nimtzezeh comes out that this Yisrael, if this suffix, remember the pidyon petach hamor goes to the kohen. If there comes out to be number 10, comes out, he's exempting himself from his ma'aseh behema with the kohen's money. Because if you tell me that the kohen, if he would grab it, he would get to keep it, that means to say he has some rights over here. And now you're going to go and give the ma'aseh behema to the kohen from his own money. You're exempting yourself from the kohen's own money. Obviously, says Rav Chananya to Rabbah, must be like you, that we paskin takva kohen miyadai, and that's why it has nothing to do with the kohen. And therefore, yes, I could go ahead and put that suffix pidyon petach hamor into my 10 animals, and therefore I'm not exempting myself with the money of the kohen. Which again was just like the way Rabbah had interpreted that Mishnah Taris. Amalei Abaye says, no. Imishum ha, if that's where you're coming from, then loy tisayeh lamar. Then that's not going to be supporting the master, meaning Rabbah, who is Abaye's Rebbe. It's not supporting him at all. You know why? Because what are we talking about over here? There was only 9 other sheep, and this one sheep, which was the Suffolk Pidyon Peter Chamor. With the man of Shach, it's not a problem. Even if you held Takva Kohen Ein Meitzim Miyadeh, not like Rabbah, it's not a raya. You would still say, you could say this halacha. Why? Aren't you being paid to yourself, Mamashal Kohen? Not true. Because if this person is Bar Chiyuvahu, that is obligated to take Meiser, meaning, because this, so to speak, pidyon was not really a pidyon Pet Chamor, so then it's his own sheep. So he has 10 sheep, and he has to take Meiser. Okay, Shabbat Meiser. That makes sense, he's taking Meiser. The Ilav Bar Chiyuvahu, and if you're saying that he's not obligated, meaning because you're going to say that this is a real pidyon Pet Chamor that belongs to the Kohen, so wait a second, he's not exempting himself with the moment of the Kohen, because Tishala Bar Surininu. That means he only has 9 sheep, because the 10th one is the Kohen's. So he's not Chayv Meiser anyway. So it says Abai, it's not a riot to Rabbah. The case is talking about that there's 9 of his own sheep, and then there's the number 10 was only the one of this Suffolk Pidyon Bet Chabar. So a man of Shach, he's not getting himself out with the Kohen's money.
There's 9 or 10.
No, there was 10. The 10th one was this Suffolk. He only had 9 of his own besides. A lot of times the guys. Yeah, we don't. So this 10th one, who owns it? If the Kohen owns it because it's really a pidyon pedach hamar, so I only have 9 then because that 10th one is the Kohen's. I don't have a chiv ma'aseh behema.
It's only 10 because.
Exactly. So man of shach. If it's mine, so it's mine. So then I'm giving ma'aseh. If it's not mine because the Kohen's, I'm not chayiv. So I'm not getting myself off the hook with the Kohen's money. However, not so fast. Hadram Abaya, subsequently Abaya retracted. And he says, Lav milsahi de amri. It's not true what we're saying. No, it definitely does support Rabbah. Why? Because if you would think that the Kohen does have some rights in this, because of the doubt, meaning if you held Takva Kohen, and you might see it, not like Rabbah, so it comes out that all these sheep are maybe chayiv in Meiser, maybe they're not chayiv. If you held not like Rabbah, it would be a suffix. Now, misafik, you wouldn't have to give Meiser, like we said, to take Meiser and Manavshach. It's not true. You wouldn't say that principle. Why not? Because the Sveika, any case that you have that you're not sure if you're chayiv, you're not sure if you're pater, lav ba'aresurihi. Actually, halacha Meiser does not apply. And even where you could say, like the Gemara was saying, Mimanav Shach, you don't say Mimanav Shach if it's Safek Chayiv, Safek Pater. And therefore, if we're saying in the Brisa that it's Nichnasin La'aser, must be because we have no Safek. How do we have no Safek? Because we're passing like Rabbah. That if the Kohen grabbed it, we would take it away from you. You have no rights whatsoever. It must be like Rabbah. Because even if you're going to tell me your case, Abaya, and Abaya himself is telling himself this, that, he only has 9, and the 10th one is maybe, you say, man of shach, not man of shach. Because even if it's maybe yours, that maybe is also maybe not yours, because if the Kohen grabbed it, it would be his, that actually would not allow you to take Meiser. Why? Now we learned this in Mishnah Mesechtes B'chayris. Mishnah is talking about if, let's say, a guy was separating Meiser, meaning the animals are going through, they have a narrow opening, and the animals are going through, and they start to count when they're going through the opening of the corral. Now, he didn't get up to number 10 yet, and what happened was, Kafetz Echad min Amanuyin L'Toichan. One of the animals already had been counted, jumps back into the corral, and now he doesn't recognize which animal is which. What's the halacha? Says the Mishnah, Kulam B'turin. They're all exempt. Whether those that already left, whether those that are in the corral, even if there are 1,000, the ones that left are pater, because of the principle that we're going to explain in a moment called minyan haroi. Meaning when you counted it, it was fit that the number should be completed and come to the number 10. The Gemara B'chairis tells us, and the Gemara brings it over here, min haroi is poiter, the fact that you already were supposed to get to 10, even if you didn't get to it, it's going to exempt. And those inside the corral are going to be potter because of this one that's mixed in. Because the pasuk says, whatever is going to go through the stick, but not if it went over the stick. If it went over the stick, then you can't use it for meiser. Now each one of them is a suffix maybe already passed over, so therefore that itself exempts. Fine. Says the Gemara, if you're going to think to say that sveika b'yisuri, that when you have a doubt, you have to take meiser. So I don't understand. La'asam and manavshach. Then either way, you should take meiser, because you could say, manavshach, you have to take meiser. Because maybe you're doing it the right way, like the halacha requires it. You should take meiser, but those that are in the corral, manavshach, because every 10 that goes out, you say like this. The if the number 10, if the meiser is bar chiyuvahu, is obligated like it's supposed to be. For example, let's say the one that jumped back in is not from them, so shapa meiser, and you're taking meiser very well. Vilav bar chiyuvahu, and if you're not obligated, for example, let's say from those 10, the one that jumped out is inside of it, and therefore the 10th one's not really meiser, so nifter, no promise, you're exempt from meiser because b'min haro. Because when you counted 1, 2, 3, in the corral you had many sheep which was fit to complete it to number 10, and therefore that exempts that number. Because the Amar Rava says in Mecharis Daf Notesim and Aleph, min haro, let's like we said, if let's say somebody had 10 sheep and they counted 5, and one of them that were not counted died, pater, it exempts the ones that were already counted are pater. And those that are not counted, okay, that will put them into another grouping that for the sheep that will be born at a later time and they'll combine. But the ones that were already counted are pater at min haro, and learn that from Ashayaver, only that which is going to go over, not that which already went through. When the one that goes through and you didn't get a chance to take of meiser, then you don't do meiser any time again when other sheep are going to be born. So as we continue to talk about signing off, so why do we say you take meiser manavshach? Other name. Says the Gemara, no, because what are you going to say? Why don't we obligate him to take meiser manavshach? Because Asir Vadim Rachman Torah says that meiser is only when it's definitive. Now when it's doubtful, you don't have to take meiser misafik. And every 10 that's over here, it's a suffix. That even if the potter went through number 5, number 10 is not number 10, it's number 9, because the potter, the one that's exempt, is not from the minyan. So hachanam here also, when we have the suffix pidyon pedachamar, asir vadim rachman asir suffix is only by definite, not by doubt, and therefore obviously it can't be a suffix. And then it must be like Rabbah says Abai, it is a right to Abai. Just one last clarification. Says my sfekas. Just to explain, when we said a sfekas nechnas ladir l'sasa, the doubts go into the ground to take meiser. What is that case? Ilam esafik b'charis. If you think to say it's the doubt of the firstborn, it can't be, because Yiyah Kodesh Rachman Torah says it will be holy for meiser. But Lishik Far Kodesh, not that it already was holy. A b'char which was already holy cannot be used for meiser. Ela Safik Pidyon Petach Hamar, like we explained, where you had a sheep that was separated for Safik Petach Hamar, that even if it's a definitely Petach Hamar, that you don't have in this sheep Pidyon any Kedusha, it's just a redemption. Okay, Rav Nachman Rabbi Avu, he says, Yisrael Sheish Lo Asar Safik Pitri Chamar B'Tich Beis. If someone has 10 doubtful Petach Hamars in this house, Mafash Alea in Asar Asar, and he separates 10 sheep to remove the Isser that you could do avoid with it. Umas, and takes Meisav and Shalai, and he gets to keep it because of the Safik. We say Amoitza Mechaber al Baraya, but upon them, that was the support for Rabbah, which rejects the Raya to answer the question of when you have Takfoi. That if you said Ein Meitzin, would you say Hekdesh also? We thought we'll bring a Raya. We said no, it's not a Raya, because even if you say Takva Kohen Meitzin, they still going to have Hekdesh because of the Surah that comes by itself. And the Taka, that seems to be as we said, Tandim Mesayeh, that is the halacha. We actually say Takva Kohen, that Meitzin Miyadeh, because if it said Ein Meitzin, then it would be a suffix. And if it was suffix, then we would say that you can't put into Maisa, as we brought a Raya, because anytime you have a suffix, obviously, then it's a Sir Vadim Rachman when the blood is a suffix. Thank you, anytime. Those things.